Good evening, and welcome to the 2021 American Association of Blacks in Energy, New York Metropolitan Area Chapter Executive Reception. My name is Kenneth Shawn. I'm an attorney in the Department of Employment and Labor Relations at Con Edison. I'm also a member of AABE-NYMAC, and I've been given the honor to provide a few opening remarks to kick off the program tonight. Now, it would be an understatement to say that a lot has happened since last year's executive reception, but let me give you a rundown. First, the pandemic has provided several challenges to the energy industry. Utilities had to adapt to socially distanced working conditions, and students seeking entrance into the industry faced their own challenges. Second, global warming exposed real vulnerabilities in the current business model of the industry. With higher average temperatures, stronger hurricanes continue to make landfall in the US and cause blackouts like the one we faced last summer. Intense heat waves also increase the chances of power lines to cause wildfires in places like California. In 2020, saw the greatest destruction on record. Ironically, global warming mandated utilities to reevaluate its response to colder weather patterns too. And Texas is the perfect example of the effects. One of the reasons why Texas froze is because of the increasing destabilization of the northern polar jet stream that separates Arctic air from warmer air. Now that jet stream works best when Arctic air is frigid, but global warming is melting the ice and causing rising sea levels. With less ice to reflect the sun, more water absorbs the sun and also causes temperatures to rise. With Arctic air warming, that causes the jet stream to destabilize and dip further south than normal. And that dip brought frigid air that caused millions of Texans to go without electricity, heat, or water because of frozen natural gas pipes, wind turbines, and overheated generators that were not winterized and could not keep up with demand. Now, the blame for the failures of Texas highlighted continued debates on alternative energy resources. Their fossil fuel supporters call the blackout a green energy failure, even though only 7% of the energy comes from wind, with the majority coming from natural gas. In California, wildfires caused power plants and generators to go offline. But even green energy supporters acknowledged that solar and wind could not yet be a reliable alternative in the face of heat waves and higher demands. But those demands are making customers pay much more for energy. After the Texas blackout, energy prices skyrocketed as unregulated private utilities passed costs on to customers. And with the state now looking for a federal bailout to pay those costs, the high Texas cost burden may become our burden too. Although utilities continue to employ rolling blackouts to deal with higher demand and avoid complete shutdowns of power, we have learned that not all blackouts are created equally. For example, cities often spare areas with hospitals, fire stations, water treatment plants, and other key facilities from blackouts. And since minority and low-income neighborhoods are less likely to have these facilities, they are more likely to be the first communities with the blackout and the last ones to be reconnected. They are also more likely to be near refineries and industrial sites that pollute the air every time they shut down and every time they restart, adding further insult to injury. But there's another thing that happened last year. Since the last executive reception, the murder of George Floyd reignited a Black Lives Matter movement that has re-galvanized the country and several companies to stand in solidarity with minorities to address the effects of systemic and institutional racism. Now more than ever, diverse corporate and government leadership that truly represents their constituents and communities are needed to navigate all of these issues. It is along that backdrop that I would like to introduce everyone to the history of the American Association of Blacks in Energy and the New York Metropolitan Area Chapter to explain why such an organization is just as important today as when it was founded. After World War II, strong US economic growth was due in part to cheap energy supplies. But in the 1970s, OPEC nations disrupted the US economy by causing energy prices to skyrocket. In response, the government created a task force to study the problem and develop energy policy. Absent from that task force, however, were any people of color representing their own interests. And as I just described today, Blacks and other minorities often tended to shoulder the burden of the negative effects of those policies. But a man named Clark Watson wanted to change that. With ties to the NAACP and the National Urban League, he believed that there was a strong correlation between energy resource development, economic growth, and expanding opportunities for disadvantaged minorities to participate more fully in the US economic system. So in 1977, Mr. Watson, along with Larry Young, Rufus McKinney, Linda Taliaferro, Thomas Hart, and others from academia, government, and the energy sector formed AABE to make energy issues a priority for Black political, civil rights, fraternal, and social organizations. AABE progressed by promoting a national agenda on energy issues by communicating with key officials and government agencies on issues of global warming, new technology, renewable and energy efficiency standards. This was aided in part by the eventual establishment of 36 local area chapters around the country with the same mission. In 1987, NYMAC was founded here by Leandra Abbot, an assistant vice president at Con Edison at the time. Comprising of Con Edison, National Grid, the New York Power Authority, other metropolitan area energy companies, and members from local, state, and federal government agencies, NYMAC was formed to carry out the mission of AABE with a goal to educate minorities on the impact of energy policies, promote involvement of minorities in government policy making, and encourage the public and private sector to hire and promote minorities and be responsive to their needs. One of the chapter's biggest focal points is on the future of the workforce. To that end, the chapter hosts a summer energy academy focused on students from primary through high school to increase their awareness on the environment and energy-related matters. With support from the executive leadership at Con Edison and National Grid, NYMAC also holds annual scholarship programs, supports competitions, and provides mentors to college-bound students geared to the STEM and industry-related fields. To date, AABE-NYMAC has given out 60 student scholarships. And since that time, NYMAC has persevered under the following NYMAC presidents, many of whom are attending virtually today. With their contributions, I'd like to recognize them by name: Herman Dorsey, John Skipper, Wilton Sedeno, Jerry Dawes, Janice Ferrer Hardy, Deborah Smallwood, Veronica Lee, and our current president, William Suggs. As I wrap up my opening remarks, I'd like to leave this audience with a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson: "What lies behind us and what lies before us are small matters compared to what lies within us." I hope we internalize that statement and learn from this executive reception to create an energy future that we can all benefit from. And without further ado, please join me in welcoming William Suggs, who will address current highlights of AABE-NYMAC. Thank you once again for your time.
Thank you, Ken, for those words of wisdom. And thank you very much for acknowledging our past presidents of AABE-NYMAC. As Ken mentioned, I'm Bill Suggs, the New York chapter president for the American Association of Blacks in Energy. I would like to thank Con Edison and our corporate leadership for their continuous support from a philanthropy standpoint and the partnership that impacts our communities on a local as well as a national level. I want to thank the elected officials and community activists for working closely with NYMAC over the years. I would like to give a big shout out to our New York chapter's leadership and all our members on the planning committee, working effortlessly, working very hard to assure programs as such as this is a success. Thank you very much, everyone. AABE is built on the service and dedication of our membership. We must continue to embark on an aggressive community outreach and education strategy by attending and presenting at events throughout our service area to discuss energy and to present AABE as a resource for our communities, organizations, and elected officials. You can gain more access by visiting our website at aabenymac.org. My brothers and sisters, regardless of our races, we are experiencing some very challenging times. We were hit with one of the most unforgiving viruses in our history, the COVID-19. Now, an old virus resurfaced. During these times, we all are familiar with racism. which is a global system. But we will continue to move forward with all those around us. AABE-NYMAC must continue to examine how policy leaders, industry, and communities must work together to ensure that all communities can access the opportunities in the emerging and diverse energy industry. AABE must continue to work closely with policymakers because while national policy encourages participation in our nation, it is important to appreciate that industry, policymakers, and communities are increasingly challenging to balance the competing needs for their constituents. So I want to thank AABE leadership, our corporate sponsors, our community partners, and please keep up the great work. And thank you again. Please enjoy the rest of this event. Thank you.
The American Association of Blacks in Energy, AABE, has 1,400 members nationwide. Our members make up over 40 chapters divided by 6 regions. AABE's mission is to provide direct input into the deliberations and developments of energy policies, regulations, emerging technologies, and environmental issues. The idea of AABE was conceived in the spring of 1977 by Clark A. Watson, owner of an energy consulting firm in Denver, Colorado. Watson called for a meeting of a core group of blacks concerned about energy matters on July 25th and 26th of 1977 at the Watergate Hotel in Washington, D.C. At this first meeting, Watson wanted to create a structure of mechanism by which blacks who had some knowledge and understanding of the U.S. energy situation could bring their thinking to bear on energy policy making. A consensus was reached to form a new organization, the American Association of Blacks in Energy, AABE, with Denver, Colorado as the initial headquarters. AABE was incorporated as a nonprofit corporation in the state of Colorado on December 1st, 1977. By the end of 1980, AABE's membership had grown to over more than 250 members.
7 years later, AABE-NYMAC was founded by a minority professional named Leandra Abbot. Leandra, who worked at Con Edison at the time, rallied her fellow energy professionals to the chapter, including Herman Dorsey, who later became the chairman of the AABE National Organization. In addition to building the chapter, Leandra allocated resources to the local schools, showing us the importance of building the pipeline to success within our communities.
The local chapter of AABE, American Association of Blacks in Energy, spent a lot of time with the kids from New York. And meaning to spend a lot of time, we went to the schools. Leandra and I and the local chapter went up to the schools to talk to the kids about careers and how smart they were and what they might be able to do with themselves as they grow older.
Leandra and Woody accomplished a lot with AABE and also within their respective fields. Leandra and Woody had an immense amount of responsibility within the energy sector, but still made time to support AABE. We asked each of them the big question, why AABE? Their answer was,
it's appropriate for us during Black History Month to focus on a pioneering organization, one that was concerned about the relationship between African Americans and that of other minorities with the utility industry. It's important for us now to seriously consider the equity concerns behind the creation in 1977 of the American Association of Blacks in Energy. It's also appropriate to celebrate those blacks in the past, such as Lewis Howard Latimer of Thomas Edison's team, who contributed much to this industry, and to recognize those who worked hard today in this industry who also have dreams. Finally, it's important for us to all leave a career path for those who will follow tomorrow. As some of you may know, Clark Watson was the founder of AABE. He worked closely with other energy professionals to ensure that the concerns of blacks and other minorities would be heard whenever energy policies and legislations were being discussed. The same group also were committed to establishing a pipeline of blacks ready to have opportunities for advancement and to achieve within the industry. Today, the foundations they constructed do just that. It was my privilege, actually, to serve in helping to fill that pipeline with energy professionals. I was affiliated with AABE during most of my Con Edison career. I served on the board, founded our NYMAC New York area chapter, served as its first president, and also chaired the National Scholarship Committee. The Scholarship Committee was probably one of the first activities of the new organization. AABE awarded scholarships to high school graduates who planned to major in a STEM discipline. In addition, AABE offered energy professionals as mentors whose life experience often mirrored that of our young scholars. Some chapters participated in annual Black Energy Awareness Month programs that introduced students to the industry. And while New Yorkers were influential in AABE, in fact, the first woman to be elected chairperson was from the city, and later we had 2 men elected to that position, both from Con Edison. But realizing the need for a continuing local program, I decided to start the New York metropolitan area chapter. The chapter grew to become the largest in AABE thanks to the efforts of Brooklyn Union's Marion Brackett and Con Edison's Woody Dorsey, who succeeded me as chapter president and later became the second AABE national chairman from New York. Today, some 40 years later, under the current leadership of President Bill Suggs, NYMAC continues. The local scholarship program, chaired by Phyllis Thorne, and its mentoring component remains strong. Energy companies have created a mutually beneficial 3-way partnership that creates hope for the future. Thank you.
Hi again. The answer to the question as to why AABE-NYMAC was formed requires a historic view of the AABE national organization first, as well as my personal perspective on the usefulness of a local chapter. The national organization I first became aware of existed was in 1986. It was founded December 1st, 1977. So there's quite some time between when it was founded originally, the organization itself, and when the second reformation, or when I knew that the chapter was to be formed. I also recall, as a result of the energy crisis, that the national organization was formed for that reason. So, if I'm remembering correctly, Con Ed and I believe Leandra Abbot was part of the first or second meeting associated with the formation of the national organization itself. And therefore, there were a number of cities that were involved and a number of utilities and oil companies that were involved in this first or second meeting. As I was told, after these meetings, there was a small chapter formed here at Con Ed. And it went defunct after a little while, and that was probably during the early 80s. At that time, the chapter was made up of high-level managers and execs, maybe just execs for what I know. Leandra probably could tell you a little bit better, a little bit more. And it was made up, the organization was made up for the sole purpose of providing input to enhance the USA's energy policy. When I was later asked to help reform this chapter with Leandra, I had some additional thoughts as to what's the value to the people at Con Ed, not just to the country. And my additional thoughts said that the local chapter would make all levels of management, not just high levels, make all levels of management visible to the bosses and executives by having timely functions where execs from the companies that were involved in NYMAC would appear. They would be able to meet the people that that work for them, and they could have a little conversation back and forth to better get to know you better. And that was a point that I always wanted to make. Getting to know each other also was important because we're scattered all throughout. At least when I was coming up, we were scattered everywhere. I was in the planning department, I was in power generation for a while, but I didn't know anybody else who was Black in the organization. So I didn't know what other people did. So this is a way of meeting each other and talking to one another and finding out how the business is run to help you run your work and your career a little bit better so that your boss knows, wow, he knows a lot of stuff, and that's important. Attending the regional and national conferences is also helpful because you wind up meeting people you would never, ever meet at all. And when you meet people from other organizations, including execs, and they know what you do and you're having conversations with them and you're networking with them, they may need somebody. And you may wind up moving or leaving the company or going someplace else to get that better deal that is not available at home. So that's the other reasons. Off the top of my head, also, I can remember some really great times that we had. And it was working times. Some of the chapter members, when I was chairman, we went to Alaska. And that Alaska trip was required because the Clinton administration wanted to get a perspective on drilling and exploration in ANWR, the Alaska National Wildlife Refuge. And there were all of the chapter presidents went, and a couple of extra people went also from the chapter. I know that Wilton Cedeno at the time went, and I know John Skipper went, and there were a couple of other people that went too, in addition to probably people from many of the chapters. And we met in California and went to Alaska. Well, that's my perspective on why I was happy to get involved, because I thought it would be for the betterment of managers. That's my take on why the organization was formed, and I hope you agree with it.
Because of the great foundation laid by Leandra, Woody, and the early AABE-NYMAC members, within 34 years, AABE-NYMAC grew to become one of the top 3 largest and most influential chapters in AABE's history. 3 members served as chairs of the ABE National Board of Directors, and several members held positions on the National Board of Directors of ABE. Leandra and Woody's legacy continues strong because of the endless commitment of the AABE-NYMAC chapter leadership members. We asked a few of our current members why they chose to continue the legacy, and here are their thoughts.
Hello, I'm Bill Suggs, the New York chapter president for the American Association of Blacks in Energy. I joined the New York chapter shortly after being exposed to a great network of people that really embraced me at a reception one evening. And I realized that there was some good work this organization was doing around the community. And I thought that I could bring some of those deliverables back to the underrepresented people throughout the 5 boroughs here in the metro area. Later, I began to work with the organization on a national level, was I was exposed to many different people from all aspects of energy, whether it was from petroleum, renewable, electric transmission. Whether they worked on the local government, state government, or federal government, we were ABE members, and we still stay in contact to this day. They also gave me the insight on the importance on making sure that we carry out the mission of this organization, making sure we bring back the mission statement and the duties to the underrepresented communities, the grassroots organizations and communities leaders right here in our local territories. Today, I stay involved with ABE because I think I have an obligation to carry out. Thank you very much, and take care. Bye-bye.
My participation in AABE-NYMAC began over 20 years ago. I began by assisting the chapter in behind-the-scenes activities. I made name tags, or I acted as a hostess at the many events that they held. This also allowed me the opportunity to see AABE-NYMAC members speak to students about the opportunities available to them in the energy industry. The engaging look on those students' faces, those young faces, seeing people who look just like them, telling them that they too could be successful in the energy field or anything they chose, made me want to be a part of this. And that's why I chose to join AABE-NYMAC. I am so proud to say that we are keeping those possibilities going today by offering mentoring and scholarships to students who want to pursue that career path. And that's my why I am still at AABE-NYMAC. Thank you.
Good day. I am Renee McClure from National Grid, a long-standing member of the AABE-NYMAC chapter and executive board team. I joined AABE to be involved with an organization specific to my career industry. This has provided me to remain at the forefront of staying engaged and well-informed as the energy space continues to evolve. Being a long-standing member for almost 20 years has enabled me to be a part of a supportive group of energy professionals who are dedicated to ensuring communities of color have a seat at the table in the energy space, which is needed now more than ever. Remember, together, we can make a difference. Thank you.
I joined AABE-NYMAC. I would think maybe about 20 years ago. I've lost track. Wow, time does really fly. I think back there, I joined AABE because of the people. I saw people that were excited about what they were doing, committed, and really working hard to make a difference. And I really wanted to be a part of that. As I became more deeply involved with the organization, I realized that my personal goals to support the growth and development of young people, to reach back and to be able to help those behind me, that was one of the goals of the organization. And so I joined the scholarship committee, which was a really, really great opportunity and has been a really great experience. The idea to be able to help Black and Brown children learn about and choose careers in the energy field, a field that I was in for 43 years. I mean, that's a blessing. I joined the scholarship committee and I've led the work of that committee for many years. So many years that I can't even give you a number. And that's because when you do work you love, you never really work a day in your life. Each year, AABE-NYMAC provides scholarships to talented young people who have and continue to contribute greatly to our industry and to the world. I feel blessed, even as I've retired, to be able to continue to support the wonderful work of AABE.
Because of members like Bill Suggs, Priscilla Houston, Renee McClure, Phyllis Thorne, and many of the other active members, AABE-NYMAC grew to what it is today.
Members of the New York Metro Area Chapter are committed to the American Association of Blacks in Energy National Mission. Members of NYMAC continue to provide our professionals, students, and community members the exposure to the energy industry through various facets including career development programs, mentoring, and community service. The students who participate in our New York Collegiate Chapter, hosted at NYU Tandon School for Engineering, and our Summer Energy Academy youth programs, hosted at both Bedford Academy High School and LIU Brooklyn, come from many different backgrounds and communities. These programs and our network have developed a direct pipeline for students to receive the tools required to be successful in today's very diverse energy industry. AABE-NYMAC, with the support of Con Edison, has been able to continue to help our next generation of high school graduates interested in majoring in a STEM or STEAM curriculum with college scholarships. Here are a few of our future ABERs and their experience.
Hello, my name is Morgan Ake. I'm a sophomore at Cornell University studying environmental engineering with a concentration in stable energy systems. I'm truly honored to be an American Associate of Blacks in Energy Scholarship recipient in 2019. The scholarship has helped me so much financially, as in helped me attend Cornell University, but furthermore, helped me really be ambitious and dream big when it comes to my goals and ambitions in the energy sector. Initially, my goals in energy was to become a mechanical engineer who would work on engine efficiency to eventually address the climate crisis. However, thanks to the AABE Scholarship Committee and just the support network that I knew that AABE represented, I knew that I could dream much bigger. Therefore, my current goal is to become an environmental engineering student who would work on developing sustainable energy systems that could be implemented in BIPOC communities. I do not truly believe that would be to have such an important and ambitious goal without knowing that I have such a strong support network like AABE. Therefore, I do think AABE is truly important and essential because it really does bring a space of belonging and familiarity. In the energy sector, there aren't that many people who look like me and have the experience of growing up in a poor neighborhood in Brooklyn, New York. AABE is essential towards creating a more diverse and innovative energy sector, which will lead to a greener and better future for all of us. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward towards creating a brighter future for everyone. Thank you.
Hello all, my name is Karen Akila Marks, and I am one of the recipients of 2015's American Association of Blacks in Energy Scholarship. I graduated Yale University in 2019 with a degree in ethnicity, race, and migration. Black, Hispanic, and Indigenous people remain underrepresented in energy-related fields, even as our communities and populations disproportionately experience poor infrastructure and environmental pollution. So while I did not enter or graduate college with a focus in environmental engineering or science research, I knew that AABE's focus on public policy would remain relevant in my studies in the humanities. With my AABE scholarship, I was able to experience college fully, including a study abroad program in Beijing, China, and working as a research assistant to 2 tenured professors' book projects. As I continue my career as a writer focusing on Black issues and look towards PhD programs, I'm continually thankful for all AABE does for college-bound Black students. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Josue Vasquez. I'm 24 years old, and I was a recipient of the American Association of Blacks in Energy Scholarship back in 2015. I'm a recent graduate from the Rochester Institute of Technology, where I majored in concentrations of civil engineering technology and business management. Winning the AABE scholarship was such an enormous honor for me. It's been on every resume I've ever written to this day, and I still have my certification and my application essay sitting in my desk. The AABE scholarship was beneficial to me because college is such a competitive environment that even having one additional skill, talent, achievement can separate you from your next candidate. Each interview I've ever done, I've been asked about the AABE scholarship and how it's relevant to my career path. I've always simply stated that before the award, I've always wanted to work in the STEM field, and I hope to support the change in resource and energy consumption. This is an award that values and has supported my cause, so that's my reason for including it. I currently work as an assistant project manager for a lumber supply company and commercial and residential construction. With my degree, with my degree and my minor in environmental studies and the AABE scholarship, I hope to use this position as a stepping stone to commercial construction management, where I can influence owners and clients into greener technology for future builds. That's really all I have to say. Thank you, Phyllis and executives, for giving me a platform to speak on. And PS executives, I'm always on LinkedIn. So I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Naja Curtis, and I can't thank the Scholarship Committee and the executive sponsors enough for selecting me as one of the recipients of this generous gift. It has made it that much easier for me to be able to gain a higher level of education. I am currently a sophomore at the University of Pennsylvania and am majoring in physics with a concentration in computer techniques and a minor in math. My current cumulative GPA is a 3.62. In addition to loving my educational experiences, I'm able to enjoy college life as a member of the UPenn gymnastics team, a member of the UPenn Women in Physics Club, and a member of the Society of Physics Students. I'm also a member of the Wharton Leadership Academy. I have been able to participate in the above college experiences through the generosity of the AABE scholarship. The scholarship is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Corey. I am 23 and I graduated from Buffalo State College with a bachelor's in geology with a concentration in environmental science. AABE has helped me in my college career by introducing me to fellow peers, people who I call friends now, who hold the same interest in me in the different sciences. I'm a big science person. Everybody that knows me knows that. So the fact that now that I have people who share the same background as me and same interests excites me every time I think about it. I could have different conversations based off of just who we are, our culture, and how it affects us in the science world. Up in Buffalo, a lot of my classes, they were predominantly white, which is okay, but you could feel some type of discomfort being the only person of color, or especially Black person, in a classroom full of white people. So knowing that I have these people that I could talk to and ask questions in the back of my pocket, which is awesome. It's been a blessing throughout my 5 years, and it's honestly part of the reason why I was able to get my degree. When it comes to career, AABE has been able to introduce me to younger kids and actually kind of help me figure out that I want to teach. So I would help kids learn about different sciences, especially when it comes to earth science. I know that's a core subject in high school and in the middle school. So the kids could come to me, ask me questions about their homework. They can even ask me questions about career things, because I have been able to help kids figure out, hey, maybe I want to study earth science, or maybe I want to study biology or architecture or engineering. The list goes on. So the fact that AABE has been able to build that bridge for us has been a blessing, and I appreciate it.
and experiences of our members. As we continue the legacy started by Leandra Abbot, then followed by Woody Dorsey and countless others who have helped the chapter thrive over the years. Con Edison and National Grid are longtime corporate supporters of ABE since the late 1980s and early 1990s. Their corporate support has enabled the local and national scholarship program, support for members' professional development, and attendance at national conferences, as well as various other ABE initiatives. Alongside our corporate sponsors, community leaders, educators, and others have lent their resources in support of the AABE-NYMAC mission, and we thank each of you for your longtime support of the chapter. Last but not least, we are grateful for every one of you for your support and time, now and in the years to come. We urge everyone to consider mentoring, joining the board, giving a presentation, or contributing your skills so AABE-NYMAC can continue on strong for another 34 years.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Catherine Lewis, and I am honored to present the following proclamations on behalf of Congresswoman Yvette D. Clarke. Whereas Brooklyn serves as a proud and vibrant borough with a local reflection of the world's cultural diversity, and it is a time-honored tradition within the United States House of Representatives to take a moment to reflect on the many accomplishments and contributions made by members of our larger community. And whereas the Honorable Leandra Abbot is a woman of great distinction and high honor. Leandra is a retired Assistant Vice President of Consolidated Edison of New York from 1975 to 2005. And whereas she is the founder of the American Association of Blacks in Energy New York Metropolitan Area Chapter, she has held the following positions in the organization: ABE former member, ABE Board of Directors, former chair, ABE National Scholarship Committee. And whereas Leandra chaired the Corporation Contributions Committee and was the driving force behind the increase in Con Edison-sponsored educational initiatives and community-related activities, and her department was instrumental in the implementation of the Say Yes to Family Math and Science program, which brought together elementary school students in grades 3 to 6, their parents and teachers in after-school workshops offering enhanced lessons. And whereas Leandra has served on many boards and she has received several awards, including those of the National American Association of Blacks in Energy, the ABE New York Metropolitan Area Chapter, the American Cancer Society, the NAACP, the YWCA of New York, the National Council of Negro Women, the National Technical Association, 100 Black Women of New York, and others. And whereas, on behalf of the United States House of Representatives, on behalf of Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, I salute Leandra H. Abbott for her positive and legendary contributions that make our nation great, and it is bestowed upon her the highest honor as a member of the 116th session of Congress. And now, therefore, we're presenting the 9th Congressional District of New York. Do we acknowledge that the Honorable Leandra H. Abbott with the great honor and recognition? It is in witness thereof, I have hereunto set the hand and caused the seal of the United States House of Representatives to be affixed on the 25th day of February, 2021.
Thank you, New York Metropolitan Area Chapter of ABE, for this wonderful proclamation. I am honored and proud. I am honored, especially since this chapter, your chapter, which I founded more than 30 years ago, is still vibrant, thanks to the leadership of its president, Mr. Bill Suggs, and its members who are committed and diligent. Together, you've raised awareness among our youth about careers in energy. You've helped to prepare them and inspire them, and ultimately to advance all of you in today's dynamic energy industry. I am so proud and grateful. Thank you.
Presenting the second proclamation. Whereas Brooklyn serves as a proud and vibrant borough with a local reflection of the world's cultural diversity, and it is a time-honored tradition within the United States to take a moment to reflect on the many accomplishments and contributions made by members of the larger community. And whereas the Honorable Herman S. Dorsey Jr., known as Woody by most, is a man of great distinction and high honor. Woody is a Consolidated Edison retiree. He holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, a master's in electric power systems engineering, and attended Duke University's Fuqua School of Business for Executive Studies. And whereas Woody started his energy career in 1966 as performance technician at the Ravenswood Power Facility in Queens and moved up through the power generation and corporate planning departments until he became the executive for Con Edison's 59th Street Power Station. He retired on the Friday before the Tuesday of 9/11, at which time he was a volunteer member of the weapons response and hazmat teams with the New York City Police and Fire Departments. And whereas Woody held the positions of Northeast Regional Coordinator, Vice Chairman, and Chairman of the American Association of Blacks in Energy, respectfully, during the period from 1989 through 1998. During this time, then President Bill Clinton requested an opinion paper on drilling and exploration in the Alaska National Wildlife Refuge. With the assistance of several oil companies in that venue, Woody led some 15 AABE board members and chapter presidents to Alaska's Prudhoe Bay inside the Arctic Circle for the purpose of gathering information. During this time, and again at the request of the Clinton administration, he assembled a diverse group of climate scientists to aid in the development of strategy for the Kyoto Global Warming Treaty. And whereas he was an international energy consultant from 1995 to 2001 to both China and Africa. He was a visiting professor for the National Urban League. He's mentioned in the Liberty of Congress, is a Freemason and a member of the Psi Phi Beta Boule. Woody was a trustee for Rice High School in Harlem. And on behalf of the United States House of Representatives, Mr. Herman Dorsey is saluted for his positive and legendary contributions that make our nation great. And it is bestowed upon him the highest honor as member of the 116th session of Congress. And therefore, on behalf of Congresswoman Yvette D. Clarke, representing the 9th Congressional District of New York, we acknowledge the Honorable Herman S. Dorsey. In witness thereof, and hereunto, we set the hand that caused the seal of the United States House of Representatives to be affixed this 25th day of February, 2021.
Good evening, AABE members and others that may be in the audience. Wow, time has gone by so rapidly. I find it difficult, really difficult to believe that I've been retired from Con Ed for 20 years and have been out of activity with AABE probably since the year 2000 or 1999. Going back and thinking about it, I went from being part of the Reformation of NYMAC, the New York metropolitan area chapter of AABE, to the Northeast Regional Coordinator of the national organization and board member, to vice chair and chair then of the American Association of Blacks in Energy's national organization. Wow, what a wonderful time that was. was hard work simply because I probably went to, I would say probably 25 out of 34 chapters during the time I was chairman and vice chairman, and visited every one of them. I just cannot believe how time has flown by, especially during this time of COVID. Wow. To receive this proclamation from NYMAC as one of the founders, or as I would like to say, one of the refounders, is like putting a cherry on top of an ice cream sundae that's been sprinkled with nuts. I can't believe it. I can't believe that there's someone in that organization, or a bunch of you, who remember me after all of this time. I've stuck pretty close to some, and they probably had something to do with this. I thank you for this proclamation. I thank you for this gift. It tastes and feels so, so good. I thank you all for this tremendous, tremendous gift. Thank you.
In energy, you
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Great. So it is my distinct pleasure tonight to introduce Mr. Frank Stewart. He has an impeccable bio, and we are so honored to have him share his knowledge with us today. I invite you all to listen carefully to this bio, because if you're like me, you'll probably be in awe. Mr. Stewart is the manager and CEO of FM Stewart & Company, an energy and environmental policy consulting firm based in Pembroke Pines, Florida. From 2007 through 2011, Frank Stewart served as president and chief executive officer of the American Association of Blacks in Energy, AABE. Before that, Mr. Stewart was the executive director of the STEP Foundation, a not-for-profit organization established to identify viable, clean energy efficiency, or pollution prevention projects. And additionally, he served as chairman of the foundation's board from 2002 to 2004, and was instrumental in guiding its creation and development. From 1990 to 1994, Mr. Stewart served as a deputy assistant secretary and acting assistant secretary for energy efficiency. He was responsible for several grant programs, including the State Energy Conservation Program, the Low Income Weatherization Program, the Energy Inventions and Innovations Program, and the Energy Conservation in Schools and Hospitals Program. Over the course of his DOE career, Mr. Stewart participated in and led several departments. A member of the National Science Foundation advisory team that was sent to assist the Romanian government, and he led the effort to train the staff of the African Development Bank in renewable energy technologies. He represented the United States government in Uganda, Botswana, Cote d'Ivoire, South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, and Mozambique, and made presentations at several U.S. African ministerial conferences. Prior to joining the Department of Energy, Mr. Stewart served as the Assistant Executive Secretary for Education and Civil Rights at the Department of Health, Education and Welfare, and the Director of Planning for the Office of Equal Educational Opportunity. He was a lecturer at Rutgers University School of Education in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and the Assistant Dean at Wesleyan University in Middletown, Connecticut. Mr. Stewart is the recipient of some of the DOE's highest awards, including the Pride Award, the Meritorious Service Award, the Distinguished Career Service Award, and the Secretary of Energy's Gold Medal. He was honored by the Association of Energy Engineers as its first Energy Executive of the Year. The National Association of State Energy Officials named him their Energy Advocate of the Year, and he received similar honors from Fort Valley State University, Texas Southern University, and North Carolina A&T University. He served as a member of the Board of Advisors of the International Center for Appropriate and Sustainable Technologies, the Board of Directors of the American Association of Blacks in Energy, AABE, the National Petroleum Council, the Commission to Engage African Americans on Climate Change, and he is one of the founding members of the Energy Research Collaborative, a coalition of national organizations that work with the American Petroleum Institute to improve the participation of minority workers in the natural gas industry. From 2003 until 2009, Mr. Stewart was a member of the Environmental Protection Agency's National Advisory Council for Environmental Policies and Technologies, where he served as co-chair of the Energy and Environment Working Group. Mr. Stewart has recently been appointed to the Florida Advisory Council on Climate and Energy. He continues to serve as a member of both the Denver area chapter and the Florida chapter of AABE, as well as a member of the Lifelong Learning Institute of Nova Southeastern University. Mr. Frank Stewart earned his Bachelor of Arts and Masters of Arts degree from Wesleyan University, Middletown, Connecticut, and did additional graduate work at the Harvard School of Business in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and the American University in Washington, D.C. I did say he had an impressive bio, right? So, Mr. Stewart, I am so honored to introduce you to this audience and invite them in welcoming you. Mr. Stewart?
Terry, thank you very much for that wonderful interview. It's an interview that only my mother would believe. So thank you very, very much. Before I go on, I see Representative Clark is here. Well, I am certainly know enough to step aside and let her have a few words. So, Representative Clark, if you could you unmute yourself and share with us? I mean, I'm so delighted to have a chance to see you. I mean, I watched your career for years, and the fact that you've now moved to being vice chair of the Energy and Commerce Committee, what an incredibly important and powerful position. I know you've got probably 1,000 key issues on your plate. I'm so delighted you have a chance to be here this evening.
Well, first of all, let me thank you for yielding, Frank. I truly, truly appreciate it. I actually have been enjoying this commemoration of Black History Month through the lens of AABE-NYMAC. Let me acknowledge Bill Suggs, my dear brother, and of course, my sister, Tony Ewell, and also Terry and all of the members and officers of AABE-NYMAC. What a wonderful presentation. The history of this organization can't be put out there enough. When I think about your members and your scholarship recipients, you all are really poised to elevate your leadership to a whole nother level, particularly at a time like this. Yeah, as you said, Frank, I served as vice chair of the Energy and Commerce Committee, been charged by the chairman of the committee, Frank Pallone, along with my colleague, Robin Kelly, who is from Chicago, to lead a disparities working group across the entire enterprise of the Energy and Commerce Committee. So that's everything from climate change to energy to consumer protection to telecom to healthcare. And the partnership that AABE has established with sort of the private sector over all of these years. When I think back 1977, I don't want to tell you how young I was then. I'm almost as old as AABE is. But having said that, there's a wealth of knowledge that your lived experiences in this industry can lend to this moment that we're in. When we look at how different communities have been sort of impacted by disparate treatment in many cases within the energy sphere, within the climate sphere, how all of that sort of contributes to the perfect storm when a pandemic hits, how we sort of build back better or evolve will be reliant upon your knowledge, your expertise, and those young ones that you all have been cultivating all along, all throughout. And so I'm really excited to share with you this evening. I want to congratulate verbally, your honorees this evening, because again, I won't call them trailblazers. I'll call them sort of leaders in this space with the vision for bringing Blacks in energy together. I don't think when people talk about energy, they see your faces necessarily. When they think about energy, they may think about the meter reader. They may think about the owners of the enterprises, but they don't know about all of the science and scientists and researchers and those who make these organizations great, being people from their own communities. So we got to make sure that the history continues to grow from strength to strength, that more and more sort of young folks are exposed to it, because indeed we're about to move very rapidly into addressing sort of the issues of the day, many of which are rooted in our sort of energy development in this nation. And what we need to do now to sort of take that leap of faith into an evolution in energy. And I'm excited about it. I've been looking at renewables for quite some time, and so have many of your companies. And we just gotta get them to take that leap of faith. Many have already made the investments, and there's a partnership that can exist between government and the private sector that one widens the aperture on talents like yours, make sure that they're elevated, and that's where my disparities work comes in, my diversity and inclusion work comes in the decision-making space. And then, the opportunities for sustainable energy and maintaining the infrastructure of the 21st century should be open to all of our young people, all of those brilliant scholars that you all have been cultivating. I've put in a lot of legislation. I'm going to wrap, but I look forward to further conversations, because we're looking at building out an infrastructure that will be electrified to a large extent. And, we're talking about charging stations for, new vehicles that won't be, carbon polluters. And one of the things that myself and my colleagues have been very, very focused on is making sure that we start that infrastructure in the communities that have paid the price for a carbonized civil society, and create opportunities for entrepreneurs and specifically entrepreneurs of color, Black folk, and in Black communities to, one, own franchise in it, but beyond that, be able to build up the workforce of the 21st century right where they live. So let me thank you once again. This was great. And Frank, congratulations on all the work that you're doing. Bill, Tony, and the rest of the team, thank you so much for extending the invitation. You all let me crash the party. I appreciate that, and look forward to continued conversation and partnership here on Capitol Hill with you folks as you raise your national profile we can make the difference together. Thank you.
Congresswoman, it's an absolute wonderful pleasure. I mean, this is historic that you could be here at this time, given the position you're in, given the work that's before you. And for all of the people on this Zoom call to appreciate that now that Congresswoman Clark is going to be leading, one of the key leaders in the development of this massive infrastructure program that the president's been talking about, that the nation's been expecting for years and years and years. And that you're one of the first ones to hear about it. And given all that you've done over all the years, all the plans you've made for increasing minority involvement in the energy industry, for increasing the opportunity for a minority business to develop, increasing the opportunity for students' involvement, here we have the person who is going to be in the chair, on the lead, making things happen, and that you're going to be in a position to support her, to bring the actual on-the-ground experience to her and her staff. She's got a great staff, but there's no way that her staff could replicate the hundreds and hundreds of hours of on-the-ground experience that you guys have got. So I'm just delighted the Congresswoman could be here, and I'm delighted that this whole nation is at this point now. I mean, we've got a lot of really difficult issues before us, but this is one that we've got a bow wave on. And with the Congresswoman in the lead, given her commitment to all these issues, given her commitment to young people, given her commitment to the urban minorities, this is just blooming outstanding.
Well, Frank, I did want to just quickly, we're looking at microgrids. You all understand what that means. And unfortunately, Texas did not. And so, you know, the evidence is right before us, and the opportunity is right before us. And in closing, I just want to let you also know that I am also on the Homeland Security Committee in the House of Representatives. And, you know, all of our critical infrastructure is tied to energy, the grid. And that is also tied to broadband. So the convergence of technology and energy, that's what gets out, that's what makes it possible for us to meet virtually like this. I'm also the subcommittee chairperson for the subcommittee on cybersecurity, infrastructure protection, and innovation. So there again, a lens to opportunities for our STEM students, not only in the energy sector, but in the convergence between technology, broadband, spectrum, and energy. So I'll end there because as you can tell, I'm very excited about the possibilities, but you all are an organization that can resource what needs to happen in this next generation and the now generation. Take good care. Thank you.
Remarkable. Now, it's up to NYMAC now that the Congresswoman has opened the door to you to get up and take advantage of this. I mean, the opportunity for NYMAC to be, again, and continue to be a national leader for the entire organization, to be the leader for the organization is here. The Congresswoman has said that she's open to your input. She's open to your participation. There ain't nothing to do it but to do it now. Come on, you know, we can do this. We have planned for this for generations. We worked on this for years and decades. Now we have the opportunity. We have the national level administration wanting to do this. We have access to the leadership that's got to be in charge of getting it done. If we don't step up and do it, we got nobody to blame but ourselves. So let's do this thing. Now, again, I want to apologize to Terry and to Bill and to Tony for kind of getting off schedule now. So I'm going to reduce my remarks a bit so I can get back on schedule as best I can. So thank you. Bill, whoever designed this program and understood the importance of celebrating the current and honoring the past and inspiring the future, I'm in your debt. This makes incredibly, very important, good sense. But in terms of that, let me take the minute to give a shout out to, I won't call him an old friend, but a friend of long standing, Kevin Burke, who for years and years was a wonderful supporter of Abe, who I understand now is retired and enjoying some of the sunshine here in Florida with me. I really value his friendship. And I want to offer congratulations to John McAvoy, who's going to be taking over as chairman of the board at Con Ed now. He's had a great experience. He's been a fantastic leader, and I wish him all the best in this new responsibility. And I understand that Tim Conway is going to be looking to take over the CEO's role, getting into the hot seat now. Tim has been a great supporter of Abe, and he's had a fabulous career. And now he's going to be the one kind of calling the shots. And I wish him absolutely all the best. But I also want to shout out to the other side of the NYMAC chapter, National Grid. I mean, Rudy Winter, I understand now, come April, will be Con Ed president, New York president, will be National Grid president in New York. That is absolutely wonderful. I mean, I've met Rudy before, and he's a great intellect, a fabulous administrator with a tremendous national reputation. He's going to do very, very well, and he knows Abe, and he has a real appreciation for what we're about and do. And I also just saw an article that Helen Burt is going to be taking over as a COC, Chief Operating Officer for customers. I don't know that position, but I certainly wish her well as also. NYMAC has a great future out, given the work it's done and given the kind of support it's received. Things ought to be very, very, very bright. It occurs to me that just the idea of choosing new leadership is inherently a positive action, one that speaks to the success that these people have had in the past, that calls on them now to step forward and to bring us into the future we're all looking for. So kind of in keeping with the theme of honoring and celebrating and inspiring, and the fact that we've got both of these great organizations coming forward with new leadership into this new year, I think speaks well for them and speaks well for all of us. I would also be remiss if I didn't speak to Abe's new leadership. Many of you, all of you know that Paula Glover has left the position as president and CEO of Abe and has now taken on the leadership of what is arguably the largest and oldest and most able and most influential energy efficiency public-private group organization, probably certainly in the country and probably in the world. It is no surprise to me that Congressman Rush, who just had a hearing last week, focusing on one of the bills that several of the bills that he's working on, one of which I'm sure is going to be the opportunity to increase the staff diversity in the oil and gas industry, had its first hearing this year last week, and the first witness of his first hearing was none other than Paula Glover, who did a wonderful presentation. And I think the tie between Congressman Rush and Abe is also so very solid. And just to also shout out to Ralph Cleveland, who's taking over as the interim CEO of Abe. As most of you know, Ralph, he is an outstanding talent that's going to be bringing a lot of his experience, both on the global level as well as on the national level, to the organization. And as the Congresswoman had mentioned, and as Kenneth mentioned, I've got to do a shout out to our utility brothers and sisters in Texas. They are taking a lot of heat from the public because they don't understand that they are the ones that were there on the ground trying to make it happen. And it was essentially the policies of others who didn't seem to understand the importance of their energy role. And declined to give the operators a chance to weatherize their systems. They are doing the best they can, but I think, as the Congresswoman had said, we all ought to go to school on Texas now and realize that climate change is in fact real. And a lot of the people in the red states who want to deny the fact, who want to deny science, or find out there's a price to pay for doing that. So a shout out to those who are on the ground who are trying to get the task done. I mean, the public is beginning to understand more that although they tend to think about how dangerous and how difficult the police and firemen are, and they're doing an incredible job. But if you ask a insurance company, they're going to tell you that being a lineman with utilities is a whole lot more dangerous than being a policeman. So I want to shout out to our folks there. The story of NYMAC and the story of AABE is an incredibly important and wonderful story, and it dates back decades now. I can recall when I first got involved with AABE, part of the discussion was about, why do you need an energy department? Why do you need such a focus on energy? Well, isn't energy just another commodity? I remember Secretary O'Leary then saying, yeah, energy is just another commodity, like oxygen is just another gas. No, that is in fact not the case. Energy is a matter of national and personal physical survival, economic viability, and environmental responsibility. When we go back in history and realize that the reason the Germans lost World War I was because of energy. The reason that Hitler put Rommel in North Africa, his best and finest and strongest general in North Africa, because he had to secure his access to energy. Virtually all of the wars the U.S. was in the last half of the 20th century were essentially about energy. Energy plays an incredibly important, I mean, one of the reason that Hitler lost was because he was spending all his money trying to replace the energy he couldn't get from North Africa. I mean, they were trying to make airplane fuel out of coal. Well, you can do that, but it's very, very expensive. The founders of AABE believed that there had to be a policy voice for our communities, who had to kind of keep an eye out for not so much the decisions that get made, but why the decisions get made and how the decisions get made. And that's what they had to keep an eye on, particularly in the energy industry, and people don't seem to realize it, but the energy industry is the third largest industry in the entire nation. It is larger than the education industry. It's larger than the agricultural industry. It's larger than the manufacturing industry. It's larger than the automotive industry. The only industries larger are finance and real estate, which means then that it has an incredible import on all of our lives, an incredible opportunity for young people if they understand the breadth of the opportunity before them. When I started with AABE, it was one of the things that, and this goes back to the 70s, what I found so interesting was that the appreciation that the national energy policy that was trying to be formed back in 77 and 78 and 79 was not necessarily the kind of national energy policy that was appropriate for people of color. A good national energy policy is not necessarily a good Black national energy policy. Energy is one of those things that is very much both geographically dependent and demographically dependent. If you live in New York, Brooklyn, you have a much different energy profile than if you lived in Kenosha, Wisconsin. You spend a lot different in terms of how much you spend and what you spend it on in terms of home heating. Your transportation fuel systems are entirely different. And given the fact that particularly African Americans are still an Eastern phenomenon and primarily a Southeastern phenomenon, we are much more heavily urbanized than the rest of the country. We are more heavily coastal. I mean, we have the East Coast, we have the West Coast, we have the Gulf Coast, and we have the Lake Coast. Not entirely, but a lot of our energy usage and a lot of our economic development is related around kind of where we are. And one of the things that Abe has discovered over these last many years is that we have to continually remember that we have consistent and ongoing and eternal obligations, but not necessarily ongoing and eternal alliances. And one of the things that has to happen and has been happening is that we need to kind of understand the energy implications that it has for us. And even if it means not aligning with the environmental community or not aligning with the low-income community, we need to understand how these issues impact us particularly. And in that regard, Abe has a long-standing support for relationship with the Weatherization Assistance Program, because that is one of the areas that we have the most vulnerability in terms of energy. We have always been very concerned about our communities and the fear that they will fall into arrears in terms of their energy payments, and the importance of LAHEAP in keeping people from falling into arrears and getting into that spiral that sucks them down into even worse situations. The issues of reliability and power restoration after emergencies. We went through that with Sandy, and we understand how difficult it is. And then sometimes those who are doing the restoration of power may think they're doing the right thing, but the right thing for some are not necessarily the right thing for us. Job creation and career development and business opportunities. We have not spent enough time on that. I can recall going nose to nose with the Wind Association. The American Wind Association, as of 2008, had never hired a Black person in their office in Washington, D.C. They said they couldn't find qualified Black people in Washington, D.C., where the college level and the education level is so far above any place else and anybody else. There's no reason for that. But again, they could find. I can recall the Department of Energy thinking they're doing a great thing by providing training in wind power, and that some thought it would be a great opportunity for our community to get involved with wind, because we knew wind was going to be a comer. Well, they placed the wind training programs in Billings, Montana, in Paducah, in Laramie, Wyoming. Come on. Not only sometimes is the policy a difficult matter, but the implementation of the policy also is a difficult matter, which we need to also be mindful of. It was also during the late 2008, 9, 10, where we had to make an important break with the environmental community, who often thought they spoke for us. Well, we had to let them know that they didn't necessarily speak for us. We were looking at the whole issue of natural gas and the role of natural gas in particularly the power industry. Well, we sat down with Professor Jurgen from Massachusetts and worked through the numbers, and it turned out that fracking for natural gas provided more disposable income for low-income families than weatherization and LAHEAP combined several times over. So we had to take a position of the responsible utilization of the fracking technology. It provided disposable income. It provided opportunities for more reliability. It provided opportunities in places like Pennsylvania and Ohio. It's not Wyoming or Montana. In Pennsylvania and Ohio and Michigan for job creation. We had a tussle with those folks, but I think it was one well worth bearing because I think we were on the right side. We also had a tussle with the environmental community about renewable portfolio standards. And again, about wind technology. I mean, it just seemed inappropriate for us that the law could require urban utilities to purchase wind power at a higher price than they could provide the power, and to buy it from large landowners out west. So someone from Montana whose great-grandfather had gotten his land free of charge to now employ a technology that was developed by all the taxpayers' money to install his equipment at low interest loans funded by the taxpayer, to turn around and sell his power from wind, which he was not having to pay for, to utility companies in Chicago and New York at a higher price. It was a machine that took money out of Black communities into rural white hands. That hardly seemed fair, hardly seemed reasonable. It's the kind of thing that we, looking out for ourselves, have got to be aware of and prevent as best we can. And sometimes the ability and willingness to stand on our own is not necessarily easy. I can recall when the Obama administration began, they were looking at energy issues and they were promoting the cap and trade as a way of dealing with it well. If you peel it back and you get under the surface, the cap and trade program is a way of an additional regressive tax on low-income consumers. When we asked them how are they going to account for the fact these were disproportionately impacting minority and low income, and they couldn't find a way that it was going to make it fair, that whole idea fell apart and dropped. That is to say that we have a responsibility to keep an eye on the policies in this area. It's important for all of us, particularly for our folks. And NYMAC, I can't say how much this organization has meant to the entire national effort. And Leandra and Woody are to be commended for the work they've done in the past to make it all possible. As you've heard, NYMAC has provided more leadership for the national organization than any other chapter in the country. 3 of the chairmen of the board. I don't think there's been a time since early 1990s that there hasn't been 1 or more members from NYMAC on the AABE board. In fact, I think Maury now is a member and Milo is a member of the board, and that leadership has been incredibly important. NYMAC also has, I think, the largest scholarship program of any chapter in the country. We here in Florida awarded 12 scholarships last year. I don't know how many NYMAC did, but I know they've had a longstanding super program in that regard. They have also the largest and oldest summer energy academy. Other chapters have picked it up, but NYMAC was the leader, and it still has an incredibly important and solid program. So I think it's important that we want to appreciate what Leandra started all those years ago, and what Woody assisted in. It's been an important addition to where we are as a nation. The question now is, what will the future hold? Clearly, NYMAC and AABE have the experience. They have the capability. They have the access. My hope is that they will also have the willingness to provide both local and national leadership, that they will continue to commit to each individual's own professional advancement. Because every time that an AABE member gets a promotion, we all benefit from that. And I hope that there will be a continued commitment to support our youth, because that in fact is the future for all of us. And lastly, but certainly not least, I hope that they will, not only NYMAC, but all the AABE chapters will continue to have the courage to speak truth to power. It's never easy, but always necessary. But in closing, I'd like to quote from, I'm sure you all were sat in on the inauguration, and you heard the young poet laureate, Amanda Gorman, deliver her presentation. If you haven't taken the time to download that and review it carefully, it is a magnificently well-balanced and well-written piece of literature that I think may well in the future be something that every high school student is going to read. But just the latter part of her presentation, let me just, if I can, she says, "We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover. And every known nook of our nation and every corner called our country, our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge, battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. For there is always light, if only we are brave enough to see it. If only we are brave enough to be it." Thank you and congratulations.
Very, very, very stirring, Frank. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was incredible. On behalf of the American Association of Blacks in Energy, thank you all for attending our virtual annual executive reception. I'll be brief. However, as mentioned earlier, we need to acknowledge the moment we find ourselves in. A pandemic compounded by a long-awaited racial reckoning, with the public death of George Floyd and the senseless killings of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and others, and the infamous insurrection at our nation's capital. All very tragic events that are catapulting the new way we work at Con Edison, ushering in a fundamental change. I want to recognize and applaud the intention of the company's leadership to address and confront systemic racism. CEO Tim Cawley talks about how he's optimistic about our diversity and inclusion program with its action plan and metrics, and how Con Edison wants to move the needle on all levels of leadership. He also emphasizes that this is going to take a lot of work. He needs all of us to make this happen. Courageous conversations and educating ourselves is needed to create the change in hearts and minds to make this approach authentic and sustainable. Events like this one open the door to creating opportunities. However, we need more to create the shift, the cultural change in the way we work. I found these efforts so inspiring that I've shared our company's approach on the many boards I either serve or lead, When we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, I refer to the great work Con Ed is doing by tying performance metrics to diversity and inclusion, or our executive sponsorship program as an example of identifying and promoting talent. The Brooklyn Navy Yard is grappling with these issues as well. And I share that Con Edison is asking powerful questions. What can we do? What should we do? And ultimately, what will we do to be a part of the solutions that drives dismantling systemic racism? Research has shown that this way of thinking and the actions taken will reap very positive rewards in the areas of productivity, morale, and connections to our customers. I've been with the company 33 years this month, and I am very happy to be a part of this moment in our company's history. It was Leandra Abbot working with Woody Dorsey who founded AABE-NYMAC chapter 34 years ago. And we owe them both a debt of gratitude. When I think of Abe, Frank Stewart is top of mind. He's a wonderful blend of brilliance and elegance with a wealth of information. Thank you, Frank, for your steadfast support. We also need to thank a few people who made this event possible, but I must thank Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. We want to be where you are, okay? We want to be where you are. I want to thank our executive sponsor, Frances Rashesky, for her support, AABE National Board member, Milo Blair, and of course, our most consistent president, Bill Suggs. And a big thank you to our planning team with a special shout out to Tansy Silver and Deturian Casey. Okay, this concludes the formal part of our program. Please stay tuned for our virtual networking reception. We're gonna have a lot of fun, okay? We're gonna have a game, a trivia game, Abe and Black history. So stay tuned and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you again, Frank. Really appreciate you being with us. Bye.
Hello, everyone. My name is Torian Casey. Thank you guys for joining us. If you can check the chat, there is a link there to join the game. The link, the URL is kahoot.it. That is KAHOOT.IT. And when you get to that website, they're going to ask you for a game pin. And that game pin is listed here on the screen. It is 764-5155. We'll give everyone a few minutes who would like to join the game, and see you in a second.
Tony, Bill, this has been just an absolute joy. And I'm just so delighted some of these young people who haven't had a chance to really meet face-to-face before. Boy,
yeah.
that really means the chapter is going to do damn well in the future. It's thrilling, absolutely thrilling. And Terry, thank you so much for your help. Great.
You are quite welcome. You're quite welcome, Mr. Stewart. Thank you. Thank you.
And Ken, your introductory presentation was off the charts, man. Really.
Thank
remarkable.
You, Frank. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, damn. And you had what, 70 people at one point? 70?
You did such a great job.
Okay, we have some players who have joined the game. We're going to give it about 30 to 45 more seconds before we start. Okay, there's one more.
Tony, can you hear me?
You talking to me? Oh, Torian, okay.
Yeah, I want to tell everyone you did such an outstanding job. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. It was
Okay, we're going to
on
turn
mute.
it down. Oh, I'm sorry, Bill. Go ahead. I'll give you a few seconds.
Pasito Hari.
I hear a baby.
Yeah, my daughter, my fiance just came in, so we have some participants. But let's go ahead and start the game. AABE-NYMAC executive reception. How much do you remember? Starting in 3, 2, 1. So what year was AABE founded? Guys have 25 seconds to enter in your selection. And 5, 4, 3, 2. 1977. We had 3 people who guessed that one correct. Great job, guys. Let's go to the next question. Tansy's in the lead so far. Your scores are also based on how fast you answer the question as well. How many regions is AABE comprised of? We have 5, 6, 7, or 8. And this question will be ending in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the answer is 6. Yep, guys, let's see who's leading now. Tansy is still in the lead, followed by Kenneth Shaw, followed by Glow. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Who said, if not us, then who? If not now, then when? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., James Baldwin, former President Barack Obama, or John Lewis? 10 seconds left, guys. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer is John Lewis. Okay, we have a change of the leaderboard. Glow moves into second place. On to the 4th question. Who said character, not circumstances, makes the person? Was it Langston Hughes, Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, or Malcolm X? Eight seconds left. 3, 2, 1. The answer is Booker T. Washington.
Oh, go Glow.
Glow is now leading. On to the next question. 5 out of a total of 16. Who said, as I give, I get? Was it Coretta Scott King, Harriet Tubman, Mary McLeod Bethune, or Rosa Parks? 15 seconds left to answer. What should the prize be, Zoe? 3 seconds. 2, 1. The answer is Mary. Good job, guys. Let's see who's leading now. Okay. Some new correct answers. Okay, question number 6. What year did Toni Morrison receive a Nobel Prize for literature? Was it 1980, 1974, 1999, or 1993? 1993. Let's go into the next question. Okay, Kenneth is coming up. Question number 7. Who is the founder of AABE? Is it Herman Woody Dorsey, Clark A. Watson, Anthony Harris, or John Logan? 20 seconds to answer. Five more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer is Clark A. Watson. Everyone got that correct. Good job, guys. Okay, Phil on a streak of 3. Good job. Phyllis. I believe that's Phyllis. What year was Thurgood Marshall appointed to U.S. Supreme Court? Was it 1954, 1959, 1967, or 1972?
67. 67.
1967. Was that Frank giving answers?
Oh, sorry. All right, I'll mute here.
Mommy, Daddy's rapping.
Okay, let's go on to the next question. Phyllis, you're still on the hot streak. Question number 9. Who is the founder of AABE-NYMAC? Is it Ursula Burns, Shirley Anita Chisholm, Maxine Waters, or Leandra Abbot? Ten seconds left. All right. I didn't want to see anything but this, guys. Good job. Move on to the next question. The hot streak continues, but Glow is still in the lead, followed by Ken. Next question, number 10. Which of the inventions below was not invented by an African American? Was it the golf tee, the VCR, water gun, or traffic light? Again, which of the inventions below was not invented by an African American? 14 seconds left. The VCR is the answer. But that was a good question. And Glow has the lead with 5 correct answers. Question number 11. Why is Black History Month celebrated in February? Is it because it's the second month of the year? Ratification of the 13th Amendment? December was taken? Or is it because it's Frederick Douglass's birthday? 15 seconds left to answer. We're waiting for one answer. 3, 2, 1. The answer is Frederick Douglass' birthday. Guys, we're close. But no one got that one. Question number 12. What does the acronym AABE stand for? Is it American Association of Blacks in Energy? Is it American Association for Blacks in Energy? Is it the American Academy for Blacks in Energy? Or is it a association, Blacks in Energy? 10 seconds left. 5, 4, 3. Everyone got that correct as well. On to the next question. Oh, you guys are getting close there, glowing 10. Question number 13. In his lifetime, Frederick Douglass was a prolific writer, civil rights activist, vice presidential candidate, and even, is it the most photographed man in America? One of the first automobile owners, an agricultural scientist, or the most published African-American in his time? 12 seconds left to answer. And the answer is the most photographed man in America. No one got that right. It's getting a little tough for you guys, huh? Let's go on to the next one. Question number 14. Which acronym belongs to AABE-NYMAC student summer program? Is it SEEP? Is it SEA? Is it AABE/-2? Is it AABE-EA? Again, which acronym belongs to AABE-NYMAC student summer program? Someone mentioned it earlier today. 5 seconds left. And it is the C program, SEA. Good job, guys. And second to last, question number 15. What was George Washington Carver famous for developing? Is it peanut butter? Is it petroleum jelly? Is it crop rotation methods? Or is it cocoa butter? 15 seconds left. Two seconds left. And it is crop rotation methods. Yes. Peanut butter was a little misleading. We tricked you guys. Did the lead change? No. Okay, we're down to the last question. Question number 16. Who's going to bring it home for us? What state was AABE incorporated? Was it California? Was it Connecticut? Was it Cleveland? Or was it Colorado? 20 seconds left to respond. Seven seconds. And the correct answer is Colorado. Has our leaderboard changed? The winner is Phyllis. It comes in third. Glow comes in 2. And Kenneth Shaw pulls it out at the last minute. Runner up, Terry, followed by Tansy. Thank you guys for participating in AABE-NYMAC's executive reception. How much do you remember? You guys have been a great audience. We had fun today. We learned a lot. Everyone have a good night. Thank you again.
Take care. Great event, guys. Thank you so much for giving me a chance to participate.
Thanks so much.
Thank you,
It was
Frank.
great to listen to you.
Thanks again.
So long now. Stay healthy, stay safe.